Well, smallpox through history has been the #1 pestilential disease of any, worse than cholera, worse than plague, worse than yellow fever, for example. In fact, even in the 20th century, before it was eradicated, we estimate conservatively that 300 million people died. The Soviet Union had been very supportive of the idea of doing a global program of smallpox eradication. They proposed this in 1958, and although there were some things done over the next 6 or 7 years, there was little money that went into it, and the Director General of the World Health Organization really didn't give it much priority. They're very unhappy about this, and finally they joined with the United States in 1966 and argued the case that we really needed to have a global program of smallpox eradication that really was meaningful. This was debated in the Assembly for fully 2 days. There were a number of countries that were against it because they believed you could not eradicate smallpox. There was another group of countries that said, we're giving enough money to the WHO and we don't want to give them any more. And this was set to be $2.4 million a year. So after 2 days, it had to garner 58 votes, and it just got 60. So it was the closest vote in the history of the Assembly, World Health Assembly. Most everything is decided by consensus, and this was a very difficult one. So the Director General, very unhappy about this because he was sure that the program would fail. And he felt that there was a malaria eradication program at that point in progress for about 12 years, and it was failing. And he said, we embark on another eradication program, this won't work, the organization will be discredited, and this will be terrible. I blame the United States primarily for having put this through, and I want an American to be head of the program. So when it fails, it will be seen that the United States was playing a major role. I was called to Washington to meet with the Surgeon General, who indicated that I was going to go to Geneva to be director of the program. And I politely declined because I was already deeply involved in a Western African program. And he said, you either go or you resign. So we went to Geneva. For the eradication program, we had 2 components of the strategy. The first bit was to try to ensure that we'd reached 80% of the population for vaccination. And in a number of countries, we did this with mobile teams, which moved through an area, vaccinated, and then we had a quality control team that followed and checked a sample of these. And if they didn't do a good job, they'd come back and repeat what they did. At the same time, we set up to do what we called surveillance containment. Surveillance was to get a report every week from every health center and every hospital. It was a total departure from whatever had been done before. But we found we could do that within 12 to 18 months and have reports coming in. When they reported smallpox, we then had a couple of mobile teams who would go out, try to find other cases, and vaccinate around the area, the family, the neighborhood, the village, and try to keep it from spreading. Because smallpox has no animal reservoir. It has to go from person to person to person, like in a chain. And if you break that chain, that's it. So the idea was to vaccinate around the patient so that all these people are protected and will not be able to contract the disease. And that's the way you break the chain. So that was this containment part. What was surprising to us was to find how rapidly smallpox vanished from an area when we really focused on the surveillance and the containment aspects. So that no matter what we did, every country insisted on doing a large-scale vaccination program, and that was fine. I mean, it certainly did diminish the likelihood of the disease spreading, but to really stop it, the surveillance containment turned out to be a remarkable development.